Hi, this is Ken. I'm going to shoot you a quick little video of a cold start on my motorcycle. And again, this is a Honda CB650SC. And the name is also Nighthawk for that series. They started making the Nighthawk in 1984. Again, this is an older bike, so it is kind of a rarity that that they're around. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch the camera so you can see the bike. And here we go. Here's the bike. Quick little walk around. It's if you look down here, it is shaft driven, so there's no maintenance on a chain or anything like that. That's an advantage when you're looking for a bike. I prefer shaft-driven bikes. They're not necessarily as quick, but nobody really notices it. Unless you're like super a super racing person, it's not going to really matter. But here's the bike. Kind of a walk around. It's a 4-cylinder. You'll see it has 4 pipes. Each cylinder has its own exhaust pipe, and it rolls into 2. So it's a 4 into 2 exhaust. You'll see an exhaust over here, an exhaust over here. It is the original exhaust, which is unusual. A lot of times they'll rust out, but this one does have the original exhaust on it with not too much bluing on it. A lot of times you'll see a lot of bluing on the exhaust from heat off the engine. This one's not too bad on that. It has, a rear brake on the right foot. The front brake is actually on the right here. So that's something if you're new to motorcycles. The clutch is on the left. It is a manual shift. Something different with this model as opposed to previous models, it is a 6-speed, so it has 5 forward gears and an overdrive. So no reverse, it doesn't need it. It's pretty light. You just kind of either hold the clutch and back it up, or put it into neutral and back it into where you want to be. It does have a square headlight. That's what they did in those years. 2 horns in the front. The horn works. Everything on here works. 2 square mirrors. That was standard at that time. They're the original mirrors. Original instrument cluster. Showing the miles as of the moment of the video, 33,515. And it does have a trip meter, no fuel gauge, so you have to kind of watch the mileage, and you need to get fuel between 100 and 150, depending on what type of driving you're doing. It does have a fuel shutoff valve right there. In the up position, which it's in right now, that is where you normally ride it. When it runs out of fuel while you're driving it, all you do is you flip it all the way down, and that puts it to the reserve tank. It has a 3-gallon tank, a half-gallon reserve, so 2.5 gallons is what you have to use. When it goes to reserve, you've got probably about 20 to 30 miles. I wouldn't go 30. I'd go try to find gas once you have to flip it over. And then you can go get the gas. The gas tank is right here. To open the tank, you just use the same key as the ignition. You open it up, fill it up. I always put premium in it. Most people recommend that you do that. It is a little more expensive, but it will run really nicely with premium. The oil's just been changed using Castrol, the recommended 10W40 for this area. It does have a new valve gasket that I put on this spring, so no oil leaks. when I had the valve cover off, which is this, that's where I put the gasket. When I had the valve cover off, I also changed the spark plug, so it has 4 new spark plugs as well. It starts really well, really quickly. Everything's good. You basically have to change the oil once a season. The Castrol motorcycle oil is what you use. It's pretty pricey. It's probably about around $10 to $12 a quart, and it takes 2.5 quarts to fill it when you change the filter. The filter's only about $9 or so, but you only have to do it once a year, so it's not that big a deal. And so we're going to start it. Oh, a couple of things. I do have a couple of things I'll probably leave on it. I've got a little clock, a dial clock that I put on it, so it's really easy to see while you're riding. You can see the time. Looks like the battery's dead, so I'll probably have to replace that here today. And it also has a thermometer. That's kind of important. Right now it's a little over 60 degrees. It's nice to know what the temperature is while you're riding. When it's cold, this one's not too bad when it's cold. I do have chaps that I use, and I have a leather coat, and I have a full face helmet that I wear when it's cold. When it's not cold, I wear a half helmet. But let's go ahead and start this thing. That's what you wanted to see. You want to see it running. So I'm going to go ahead and put the key in. I only have one key, but it's kind of a common key. It's not a smart key, so you can go to Walmart or wherever to get keys made. So what you do is you put it in the start position. I've got it in neutral now. You don't have to start it in neutral. If you're not in neutral, you have to pull the clutch over here when you're starting it, if you're in first gear or second gear when you're starting it. And so I have it in neutral because I'm taking this film. So make sure that the shutoff is in the run position. Usually when I stop, I usually shut the engine off by using this. It's just easier than fumbling around with your gloves or whatever you have to get it shut down. So it's just as easy to shut it off here, turn the key off, and then you're good to go. But you always got to make sure you turn it back on. So the start button is on your right hand here. It's just this little square. And so you can just leave it set like it is. You do want to choke it a little bit when it's cold like this. This is a cold start. I haven't had it started today, so I usually choke it about halfway or so. And choke again on your left hand, and go ahead and again, it's a cold start, so you usually let it run on the choke for 30 seconds to a minute. Let it warm up a little bit, and again, I'm not doing the accelerator, so it's running on its own with half choke. And again, I didn't run this today. This is a cold start. And what normally happens after you choke it in the morning or the first of the day when you run it and you're driving it around, you don't have to choke it again after it's warmed up and you've been out and about. Even if it's been setting a couple hours, you normally don't have to choke it. If it's not responding to you, you can go ahead and choke it, and it'll start. But you let it. I'm letting it warm up a little bit to show you that. We can shut the choke down, but you can pepper it a little bit. It's fairly quiet for a motorcycle. We're hearing it right now, but it is fairly quiet. When you're on it, it is quiet. I use earplugs just for the wind if I'm in a helmet that's not full face. But and it's starting to accelerate on its own, so it's up around over $2,000. So I'm going to start setting the choke down a little bit and see if it'll run without it. Just taking it down. If you look on the left here, I also have a RAM mount for my phone. So if you go to RAM mount, if you Google that, you'll see different mounting options for your mobile phone. You can mount it to here, and then you can use your GPS. I'm going to leave that on there. If you don't want it, it just comes off. You take the mirror off, and then that'll come right off. But those are like 10, 12 bucks if you're going to grab that mount. So I'm going to leave it on. So I'll bring it down even more. You can see the idles coming down as I reduce the choke, and it'll probably still idle when I pull it all the way down. So yeah, so the choke is off. It's idling right around 1100, 1000 to 1100. I can pepper it a little bit. It's ready to run. I don't really have anybody to show you how it runs, but it does. I might see if I can grab my wife and see if I can take it around so you can see it move, but it does move. It's a decent acceleration. It's not necessarily a zip bike or anything, but the acceleration is pretty good. There aren't a lot of cars that can beat any motorcycle, so it is, acceleration on a motorcycle is pretty good. So the horn does work. As you see up here, the lights are full time, so you'll see the headlight is on. If I walk around to the back, the tail light is always on. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, there you can tell. The turn signals work. Go left. That's working. That's working. Go to the right. Check that. That's working. Go around to the back. That one's working. So everything's working just fine. I'm going to shut it down. Again, I'll shut it down here. Just hit the off button here. It'll also go off with the key. But like I said, I normally just shut it off with the shut off thing. What else would be interesting on here? Okay, so the clutch, you see that there's like a little fluid container here. It is a wet clutch. It doesn't have a cable. It is a hydraulic clutch. The front brake is also hydraulic. There's another fluid container there. So it's a complete wet system. No adjustments to that. No adjustments on the front brakes at all. There is an adjustment on the rear. If you look back here, it does have a mechanical rear brake to the pedal up here. And if you see here, it's actually an adjustment right now. So that there's like a little marker there. Kind of hard to see, but that's the bike. And I'll get this off to you. You can take a look.